It is. All right, so now we should have 2 of these.
Yeah, now we got 2 of these. Now, if we run the Scully build,
we don't want this to say posts.
Yeah, we don't. We want that to say blah.
This needs to be an actual router link because these things live.
Yeah.
And I think it's under blog,
and then
/
blog.id. Close the array. Yeah. And then in that posts, call it blog.title probably.
Wow.
You got this.
Look at me go.
Don't let anyone tell you you don't got
title. So that's going to show this information.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. So now when you refresh, if we look at our local host 4200.
Before we do, I just want to talk through this and go through top down. So we have this observable of the table of contents, which is an observable of all of the available routes, filtered down to the ones that have in TOC set to true.
Yeah. So we haven't done the Scully build. So
right.
Okay.
But we're looping through all of those, and we're just going to spit out the blog link information as the href router link and show the title of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's cool. I think it's way cool. So yeah, like and I'm looking at this and it totally is rendering just like we wanted it to. It's everything we hoped it would be. And more.
I see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on the post route. I was like, why am I seeing so much stuff here? But it's because I go to the post route and I see all the posts.
Yeah, you got all the posts up in that route.
Yeah.
So,
dude, our CSS game is on point.
So it's on fire, is what it is. All right. So now let's make it so that if we click on one of these,
wait. You know what we need to do?
What?
We need to show these.
Show what?
We've got people watching.
Oh yeah, we do.
Does somebody want to throw in a link or their browser, share their browser, and then Justin can swap to that.
Y'all,
I can just leave my VS Code run-ins.
I can share.
Wait, do I still have browser preview?
Let me launch the
open preview. We've had some issues with this in the past.
Okay.
That looks pretty good though.
Yeah.
What was the issue we had in the past? I forget. Like it didn't update or
it was our debugger. We couldn't do
the dev tools, right?
Yes, dev tools. Thank you.
We might need that. We might end up back there tonight.
All right. Well, I've got mine ready. So
all right, I've got this. We're good.
Okay, perfect.
Bring it in play. We're good. We're ready.
So this is what we're seeing. This is the home route. We go to the about route, and we go to posts. And this is what I was talking about. That we see all the posts here.
Yep. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We've got a list of all the posts, like when you go to the posts route. But what we don't have is we don't render each post individually. So let's make a post route. Deal? So let's make a route for the post, which you already did. Did you make the post component as well?
I did make a post component, yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open that up and build that out real quick, okay?
R. Hutchinson was asking about, may have missed it last week, what generates the blog ID? That's the file name, right?
Yeah, for now it's the file name. Good question. Sorry, I'm not even looking at the live stream. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'll get it.
Yeah. So what generates blog.id? Okay. So Brocky, okay. So I'm trying to figure out how to describe this. So when you develop with Angular, you can't really develop with Markdown files, true? Like if you want to build with Markdown, you have to have some sort of processor that processes the Markdown.
Yeah.
So Scully takes care of that for us. So we're able to write blogs in Markdown files, and then we run a Scully build, and it will generate a static version of our Angular app. So it will take any blog file that it finds, and it will generate the Markdown and put it into a page for us. And we just have to teach it how to do some of that. So can you open up the Scully config?
Yeah.
Just so people can See the Scully config. So that this is the Scully config. This is basically like the all the config for Scully is going to be in here. And one of the configs we said is, hey, this app has a route called blog/slug. And when you see those, we need you to go get those slugs, because that slug, that's like an Angular route ID. And I can't generate the page until I have a list of those slugs. True?
So you're defining that route here.
Yeah.
Config, but we've already defined that as part of our app. And what you're doing in the Scully config is say, hey, in my Angular app, I have a route that looks like this defined.
This, yes.
And you're telling Scully how to discover those things.
Yeah, like it needs to get a list of the slugs to put in there, right?
Yeah,
because it may have none, it may have a million, and if there's one, it needs to only render the page only one page. If there's a million, it needs to render 1 million HTML pages. Like that's what this static site generation is all about. So this plugin, see how that says type content folder?
Yep.
That content folder, that's a plugin. Okay. And that plugin, it says, hey, go to find the slugs on line 6. We define the key slug. For that slug, go to the folder /blog, and any markdown files you find in there will become the slugs. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So that's all that's
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you were explaining to the chat.
Schwarty, did it make sense?
Yep.
Okay. If you guys want to add to that, because I just want to make sure I'm not under explaining.
No, you were saying that we're using the type of plugin we're using here.
Yeah.
Is content folder.
Yep.
And then this route, the way that you find this variable is through this definition here.
Yep.
Which says go to this folder and give me all of the content in that of this folder.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Cool. And just to be clear, that /blog points at my root directory's blog directory, which is right here.
Yep. Okay, makes sense. Do you need to run a preprocessor? Yes. So you do run you're not a preprocessor. When you run Scully, when you tell Scully, hey, generate my website, Scully will go ahead and it processes those down into, instead of markdown, you get markup, and it renders it into an HTML file. So,
and you also give an npm command as well in here, npm script.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah, we'll just run npm Scully at the end of this. So in fact, if you want to do this just so that your new blog appears, why don't you run npm run Scully for us? Actually,
my new fantastic blog post. It's very informative.
You have to do an ng build, and then you can do an npm run. Sorry. Yeah, so ng build.
Remember we had trouble last time doing a build with a double ampersand, so I'm going to run them individually.
Yeah.
And actually, before I do, I'm going to kill this here because we're still serving and we want to stop the serve.
Yeah, so Histaro asked if Scully handles markdown out of the box, and the answer is yes. All you have to do is add that config to your Scully config. And
well, to be clear though, and let me get through everything that I'm about to say and then tell me if I'm right or wrong. So out of the box, Scully does not handle markdown. However, Scully does ship with a plugin that does the content folder, which is what does the markdown process.
Yes.
Is that correct?
It's largely true. It's only slightly not true because most plugins, once Scully gets a bit more mature, most plugins won't install with Scully, right? You'll have to, if you want like an extra plugin like Schwarty's awesome plugin, you're going to have to go and install separate from Scully, Schwarty's awesome plugin, right? You're not just going to get it. But the content one comes with Scully, so you don't actually have to install it separately. But you're right, it won't work until you config it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like dead on, only with that one caveat.
Yeah. I mean, it comes installed with it, but it's not a matter of Scully doing that processing. That plugin is doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's exactly like Gatsby's source file system plugin. Yep. It's the same thing. And the plugin system for Scully will start to grow and get big and big and big. So
yeah, and once we get to that point tonight, we'll be doing exactly that.
Yeah, and we're gonna describe 2 types of plugins tonight. Okay.
2.
Yeah, buddy.
I dig it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, I'm excited. So
So I just built, and I'm going to run npm run Scully.
Perfect.
So since I built it, and Scully looks at the dist folder to be able to discern what routes are there. Now we're running Scully to be able to say, hey, we're into that new blog post that Brocky created.
Yep.
I was getting this too.
What is it?
This is the serve is running in a different project.
Server's running in a different project. Scully kill server.
Scully kill server. MPX Scully kill server.
Is that like how Dobby talks? Dobby misses Harry.
See, this was one of the problems we had last week. Was the servers were just still kind of dangling.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a product of me using the VS Codes.
Yeah. All right, cool. So if you go, if everyone scroll up a little bit, just so we can digest a little bit about this output. So see how it said no configuration for route post/ID. That means in our Angular app, we have a route called post/ID, but we don't have any configuration to teach Scully how to get the list of IDs that will go in there. Okay. So that's what we're going to create a plugin to do that. But for now, it just said, oi, I'm skipping. I found this in your Angular config, but I'm skipping. Right. Yep. So that's what Scully does. One of the magics is hey, I'm going to find all your routes for you because I'm super friendly Scully. Right. The truth is out there. I'll find it. So it goes out and finds all your routes. And but that one, it's like, oh, you don't have any config for that one. So it skips it. And then the rest, though, it's like I rendered this blog into this file and this one into this file. And then it kind of gives you like the play-by-play. So at this point, if we all refresh, if you re-ng serve this thing.
Yeah, before you do that, because I may go file an issue for this just for the usability aspect.
Okay.
So we scrolled up and we see this information here, right?
Okay, yeah.
What about possibly outputting that at the end?
At the end, yeah.
To me, if I run it, I'm not going to see that at the end of my terminal. I'm not, as a developer, I'm probably not going to scroll, but I'm like, hey, it looks successful.
Yeah, and if you have hundreds of routes and they're intermittently being skipped, it'd be nice to have all the skippage at the end, what you're saying. I totally agree. Totally agree.
We have a comment from the YouTubes. Marcus asked, could the content folder be from content from a database?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we're about to write one to where you can do whatever you want. Totally though.
And that'd be like a plugin?
Yeah, there's two types of plugins. There's router plugins and then there's renderer plugins. And so we're going to kind of configure one of each up.
And then would that be just basically the process of getting that data, whatever it is, first, and then Scully processing the build of the site because it would end up in the content or content location, whatever. Yeah,
and there's multiple ways to do the getting the data from the database or from the CMS. There's multiple ways to do this. I'm going to show you the plugin way, and then at the end, if we have time, I'll show you the. Can you hear my kids screaming? Sorry for the live stream. And at the end, I'll show you the transfer state, which is a concept that we pulled from Angular Universal. Yeah, we didn't copy it. We had to write our own, but we copied a lot of the concepts from Angular Universal.
Nice.
So yeah, these are all good questions. Any other questions on the YouTube? Because I don't have that up.
That's it.
Okay, cool.
I'll bring them in. I'll mention them if we get some more.
Okay.
Serve packages?
Yeah. So it just added your second blog post to the serve.
Yeah, I wasn't running serve. Start, not serve. Right.
Dude, my mouse stopped working. What up, mouse? Oh, battery's dead.
I got a notification.
What
hey, NGBS is streaming. I should check that out.
Get on there, man. Those guys are cool. They produce some pretty
I had
legit
a really
stuff.
good topic tonight.
Really, killer topic.
Killer topic.
All right, are we 4,200?
We are. And let's
All right.
See.
Yeah. So now if you refresh, you should have 2 blog posts. Mine has 2. I don't know why you don't. I literally don't see what you see.
Let me refresh. Here we go.
There you go. You had some cash probably. All right. So we've got the 2 blog posts, and then if you go to posts, you can see all the links to the posts, right?
Yeah. Now those posts are what's coming from your remote HTTP server, not our local 2 blog posts.
Yeah. Those posts are coming from a third-party API, JSON placeholder, right? Remember? We did that HTTP get.
Yeah,
All right.
just to be clear. So the 2 with the heart emoji are ours.
So we have a problem in our code in that it's trying to the route it's building for those is doing posts/ID. So if you hover one of those posts, you can see like the preview. Well, I guess you're in that thing. So
I'm not seeing it in here, but I have my local open.
Yeah, so if you inspect that, you'll see that the link is actually posts 1, posts 2. So we need to fix that route, and then we'll be good.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's coming from the
Posts.html.
HTML. Here. That's coming from here. And router length is what?
So you don't need to do posts. Yeah, just do post.id. Okay.
That.
All right. Now if I click on it. Okay, now my route works. Okay, cool. So
let's just show that real quick so people see. So if I come in here and I click on this post, it goes to posts/2.
Let's just, for the sake of this, Rocky.
Yeah.
Let's get post. Like let's pull in the ID and get the data and put it in the component. Can we do that?
Yeah, you're talking about inside of the post component, the individual post.
Yeah.
The route information.
Yeah. So why don't you bring in the router real quick, the activated route?
So yeah, from this route, we want to pull in the ID.
Yeah.
Inside here.
So when we go to post/2, we're going to call the server and say, hey, give me post number 2. That's what we're about to do. So post ID is equal to this dot route dot params.
That's right.
Dot pipe. And then we're going to bring in an operator called pluck.
Just pluck. Cool.
Yeah, and then just give it a string of ID. Yeah. So now we got the ID. And now we're going to take that ID and do an HTTP call, right? To get the actual post itself.
Hey, you know what'd be cool?
What is it?
If pluck took a generic and then you could have ID be known.
Yeah. I mean, route params is just a dictionary of strings.
Yeah, but you could sculpt it, right? If you needed to say
you could.
I'm expecting these or whatever. I don't know. It'd be neat though if we'd have some way to like know that like if we did a refactor of ID, it would catch it here.
Totally. That's true. We're forgetting it. We missed a colon.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Why don't you give me IntelliSense? There
Come
we go,
buddy. You got it? All right, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Operator. And here we have the post ID.
Yep. And we'll say return this.http client .get. And then I need you to go get that same URL you have in the other file, in the posts. Maybe it's still on your keyboard. Maybe, I don't know. And then add a slash with the ID at the end. Post ID. Perfect. Okay. So now we've got the post in here. Why don't you go ahead and just print that out? I'm trying to remember what that gives you.
Okay, so this is go here, post.html.
Yeah. So
what did I call that?
Just do like an H1 with a post. Well, actually, you might want to wrap the whole body inside of an ng containers just so you can like async pipe out the post. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Whatever. Here's a pre-tag. Whoa.
Oh, yeah, that's fine too. You can just do the post into a pre-tag. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool.
The JSON though.
You don't want to do the JSON?
No, it's the response from the HTTP call, so you probably want it, right? The JSON.
Yeah, you probably do want the JSON.
Oh, is it giving me back JSON?
Yeah, yep.
It's
give you back an object.
Response from the HTTP call, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we do that. It's refreshing. Let's go to the first one. Click on it.
No.
Come on. It was there for a second. I saw it.
Check the dev tools. Oh, wait.
Oh, so mine did the opposite of yours. Mine went null and then turned into a thing. There we go.
I need a little refresh action.
Huh. All right. So, here's what it is.
All right, Hutchinson, that works on my machine.
All right.
The title and body. I like those.
Okay. So we have our post route. So we need to be able to discover the IDs.
I want to do some HTML real quick.
My bad. Yeah. Do your thing.
I got to do an ngIf on this, don't I?
On the container, yeah.
Just use nglet. Oh, we don't.
Oh, that's not a thing. My bad.
Someday.
It's the same, man.
It's
as posts. As posts,
yeah.
Post. And then in there do post.title. And then you're going to have post.body that you can do inside of a section or a div, yeah.
8.
Article even, yeah.
Oh, because it thinks it's an object, whatever.
I think it's that new Angular 9 type checking. I think what's going on. All right. Okay, so we got it, right? It's working. Okay, so here's what we need to do. Because if I want to pre-render the blog that you have right now, Broggy, I have to do the following. I have to teach Scully how to get all those different IDs, 1 through however many, so that it can then pre-render all of those. Yeah?
Yeah, because they're not in a folder. They're coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, they're coming from an API. And that API can be a database, a file system. I mean, you're writing it in Node, so anything you can do with Node, it can be that, right? So yeah, it could be a prime number. It could be, whatever you want, right? You can hit I'm not going to keep speculating. It can be anything you want that you could get in Node, you could get here. Okay. Cool. So let's build a, sorry, go ahead.
And it's really, you can query it across the web. So it really could hit another service that runs .NET. So you could really get it from anywhere, but the connection at this point needs to be written in Node to at least broker that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because Scully's a Node process. All right, so we're gonna write our plugin to get these post IDs. Okay.
So I get it, and I want to write a plugin. Where should I start? Should I create a folder in my root?
Well, just for now, let's just do it right in your Scully config, and then later we can abstract it into its own plugin folder. Is that cool?
Works for me.
All right, so just let's write some code up above this export feller. Actually, why don't we add your route inside the routes for now? So go down to that routes and let's do the posts /
So
ID.
here we've got this one, and we want to do /post / plug.
No, it's ID. It's whatever you call the inside Angular. So you call it ID.
I see.
Yeah. Yep. So you call it ID. So we have to use ID here as well. So we don't currently have a type for this thing. Yeah, let's call it NGPS. Perfect. NGPS posts. Deal? I never done it with a hyphen in the middle. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that one. All right, so we're gonna build that plugin.
Okay.
And we won't have to configure it because it will just take care of it. Cool.
Cool.
So up above this on the first line, I want you to go ahead and say function NGBS post plugin. And it's going to take two parameters. It's going to take a route and a config. Okay. So the route that we're going to get is going to be the route that you just specified. So /post/ID. Okay. And then, so from here, we have to return an array of objects that look like that have a route property. So that's all we have to return. Route, and it's got to be an actual route. So where it's like post/1. Does that make sense? So we have to return something that looks like /posts. So do /posts/1. And so this, at this point, and it needs to be a promise of that array. So this can be, we can do this one. So you just do promise.resolve and pass that array.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, actually, your plugin will work, and it will next time you generate, it won't say that skipping error. Oh, actually, sorry, we haven't registered the plugin. We just made it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have this, but we need to associate this with a string some way.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and on the next line of code, I want you to type register plugin and see if it auto completes into the Scully for you. Did it auto complete at all?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to import that from Scully.io/Scully.
I can't do an import, right? I need to do a require.
Yeah, this is Node. It's not TypeScript. Require at School.io/Scully. And then you're gonna say const. Yeah, you got it. Equals, yeah. Okay. So the first parameter in your register plugin is you have to define the type. So this is a string because ours is a router. So just type the string router. This is how we say, hey, we're giving you a new router plugin. And then the second one is going to be the name that you gave it. So yours is going to be NGBS posts. And then the third one is your function. Yeah, so it's registered. So you should at this point be able to render Scully.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to run. You have to do an ng build one more time, and then you won't have to do an ng build for a while. Then we can just do some Scully builds.
Cool. What's different in here?
I think the ID needs to be slug.
Oh, did you call it slug? Oh, I thought it was ID.
It was. Did you change that, Dustin?
I think it was slug.
I swear to the God that it was the ID. I don't care. It doesn't mean to me. It doesn't matter what it is.
All right,
did you commit this? Maybe you can check the Git history. Oh wait, you didn't commit it, right? So we can't find out what happened. I'm pretty sure it's slug.
Read only.
Let's ask the chat. Ask the chat if it was slug. They say it was always slug. So
always slug. It was slug his style.
All right, so now it's slug.
All right,
okay, good. We done. So now we can run. So let's to generate this to where we can see that it actually generates that post route. Go ahead and do an ng npm run build and then npm run Scully.
That's the script you added, right? And Scully :bs.
Are you talking to someone else?
You.
I did that.
Who's changing the app component HTML now?
Might have been me. I think there was one other spot. There was one other spot that it needed slug. R. Hutchinson called it out. Noticed it. Thank you, R. Hutchinson, for noticing that.
This is the blog.
Yeah, Yvonne, I see the blacking out thing of Mike's screen. I don't know why it's doing it either, but I see it sometimes.
Blog doesn't need slug. It needs ID.
Yeah.
All right. Change it back.
Why does it need ID?
Or is it slug?
Oh, so that is not a slug. That is the ID.
Because that's from Scully.
Yeah, Scully puts the ID on it, and then the ID is the file name. But in the route in Angular, you called it slug, so that's what we have to register it in
the config in the
config.
JS.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That script you have, you should be able to run that though. I see that now.
Somebody added that. I don't know who put that in.
The script, what script? The node script?
Yeah.
Yeah, the npm script.
I did. Does it work? I didn't try it. It's running
now.
on terminal access.
Now. We're excited to see.
And it's build Scully.
Build Scully.
BS is build Scully in this case. It would have to be BSS, build Scully serve, right? If we wanted to add the serve.
I thought it was BS for NGBS.
It can be whatever BS that you want.
Okay. Yeah. So we didn't add a config validator because we're lazy, but don't worry about it.
Okay.
But it's red. Shouldn't we be concerned?
For this demo, we're not worried about it.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So we should see it render that post/1. You see that?
Yeah.
And if you open up, so now I want you just to show everyone, open up your file system and look at in the dist folder, you'll have a static file, a static directory.
There it is.
And you've got posts1 index. And if you look at that index, it's got all the content right there in that page. Like you can see the lorem ipsum, right? And so so now you've taught it to do one route. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to teach it to go to the server and get all the posts so that we have all the IDs. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and update your thing here. Okay.
My plugin.
Your plugin. So does Node have fetch? Please say Node has fetch.
I mean, I could say it. Node has fetch.
Yes. I was like worried it didn't have it, but
I don't know though. I'm just saying.
Swarty just confirmed. Swarty confirmed.
Node fetch. I don't think Node has fetch.
I can't tweet that because
what version of Node do you have? Does Node have fetch? Does Node have fetch? Come on, live stream. This is why we do this live.
Everybody's waiting for Google to respond.
Anyone?
No, everyone's like, hey, Google. Maybe just npm install node fetch. Yeah.
That's dev dependency though.
Yeah, these are all dev dependencies. Yeah. You guys hear my kids back there?
I like it.
If they weren't my best friends, I'd freak out, but
They're
I
active.
friggin' love them, yo.
Anybody got the docs for node fetch?
Node fetch. Require something from node fetch. Const fetch equals require node fetch. And then you can just use fetch, which is what we want. Okay, while that's installing, can I teach you guys some vernacular?
Hold on. Say that again so I can get my node fetch all set up here.
Just call it const fetch. Yeah. Okay. So now you've got it. Can I teach you guys some vernacular real quick? Because I need to teach you a thing.
It depends.
Everyone listening is going to need to know this too. So hold on. Let me open up the Scully config so I can like highlight ish while I'm saying it. Okay. So this route format right there, post/slug.
Yes.
That's in Scully vernacular. That's called an unhandled route. That's a route that has an ID in it that we haven't handled yet. Okay. And so we have to turn this into an array of handled routes. And a handled route is an object that looks like this. It has a route property with an actual route that has been handled and like things are solved for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're going to do a fetch to the server. It's going to give us back an array of posts. And we need to turn that array into an array of
strings
of those things. Well, objects that say route / we'll route with the actual route.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and comment out line 6. And
but it's what makes everything work.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So go ahead and say return fetch, and then I need you to paste it. No, fetch is a function. And I need you to paste in that that placeholders API from posts. If you can open up your posts comment or posts component and get that, copy that out. So we're going to fetch that and then do a dot then. And then in the dot then, we'll turn this into that array of things that we need. Yeah. So that data is an array, right? We've already kind of proven that it's an array. We've done an ng-for over it in our app. So, yep. So you're going to just return. Don't forget to return the data on map.
Oh, that's right.
Unless you get rid of the curly braces. Okay. Yep. So then here you're going to say, that's going to be called no, map takes an anonymous function. You're close though.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be the post.
And you're going to return an object.
Why? Oh, post is an object.
Well, you're going to remember I said you need to return an object that looks like this thing right here. It needs to have a route with a route in it.
Oh, that's right. This needs to be a literal.
Yeah, so it needs to be an object literal. And since you're probably going to do a one-line function, yeah, perfect.
Hear that? I'm perfect.
You are perfect.
Woo.
Let's post.id and then just add the route key to that object and we're done. Okay. So yeah, you've done it. Like that's all it takes.
We're making an HTTP call to get the same data.
Mm-hmm.
We get that object back.
Yep.
And we're mapping that data, which is an array, by saying we're taking that post and we were creating a new object.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make this a little bit clearer for people who may not be familiar with the auto return piece here.
Yeah. So we're going to return that object with the route property that has the new route, right? So we've taken an unhandled route, post/slug, which is this one that was in the config, and we've turned it into this array of those, which is exactly what we need. Those are called handled routes. Okay. So now if you run, we didn't change Angular, so we don't actually have to run an ng build. This time we can just run npm run Scully. It will just use the last Angular build. And now you'll see that it's going to generate, it should generate like 100 posts.
Can we add a config validator too?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, the most simple one is super simple. So we'll add it in a second.
Nice. Because I don't like red text.
Yeah, no, it makes people nervous. Get sent to their principal's office. It's like a YouTube comment, right? It makes you kind of scared. Hello. What's up?
Data.map is not a function. So let's come here real quick.
You need to open up Scully config.
I will, but I want to see something else first. Right. So I just wanted to see if we were doing anything different here, but we're just iterating over it. So it's supposed to be an array. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an array. Oh, you know what? I forgot. Fetch returns like an interesting object. So I think you actually need to, you get a response object from fetch. So why don't you add another dot then above for me real quick?
Oh, I got you. We got Mr. Wormald in the chat giving us a little bit of information.
Yeah.
Here.
So you got to do the .json call. I forgot about that. Yeah. So once you do that, now we're mustard.
All right.
Yeah.
Our Hutchinson reminds us that Rocky, you need to write some tests or your boss is gonna be mad.
Oh, I didn't tell him I was streaming, so hopefully he's not here.
Yeah.
If he doesn't tell me he's in the chat, then I'm good.
Yeah. Finding all the routes. And this route discovery piece, this was actually largely built by Minko. This is using the Guest.js parser to find all the Angular routes.
We had Minko talk about Guest.js on Angular Air.
Oh,
Flash.
Yeah. So go back to your plugin one more time. Sorry, we're super close. You forgot the slash at the beginning. Now we run it. Apologies.
All right, let's kill that process and we'll.
Didn't you have that in there? I thought you had that in there.
We were debating adding that by default, like prefixing it with a route, in case you forget. Do you guys think we should, or should we throw that error out like we are?
I feel like leading slashes feels like something I'd need to type in. I'd be used to typing it in the way it is now.
Yeah.
Yvonne says that she loves how you Frosty say everything's super simple, but
Frost makes it sound simple, but then
throwing shots.
I like it. Yvonne
says that we would have. I think he's implying that we would have caught the slash issue if there was a validator.
No, because the validator is a config validator. It's not a route validator.
Validator.
Yeah. So when someone passes you config, like let's say you're like, I wrote a plugin that lets you get the hero IDs from the Marvel API. And in order to do that, you actually have to pass me a config with the API public and private key. So I wrote a config validator that says, make sure the config for this route has a API public key and an API private key property. And if you don't, I can log that inside of my config validator. That makes sense. So you're just kind of coaching people into giving you the right config.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway, so we're almost done.
We're done.
So this is a little bit of information that doesn't matter. For people who okay, so you have like a really fast machine. Like imagine you had a 16 core processor. The way Scully runs is it says, hey, I'm going to build a pool of these renderers, and the pool size is equal to the number of processors on your machine. Okay, so Brocky's machine, that took a bit. I don't know how many processors you have. How many do you have?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think 2.
Yeah. So that's why it took a bit longer than it would have on like a different machine.
Plus running the stream too. So
plus you're running the stream. Exactly. So your computer's significantly taxed. Anyway, so Brocky, do you have a you have HTTP server installed?
Yeah.
Why don't you serve this up and take a look at it so everyone can see, hey, yeah, it's totally working with these static routes and everything. And they'll be able to see that you can turn JavaScript off and these things are still fully rendering. Okay. So did you guys see that flash when it loads? Everyone was, did you see that?
Which flash?
When it first initially loads, like the content loads and then it loads the second time.
Let me open up that URL. So I think I was running on 8080, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go to the post route?
Yeah, any route. And I was just pointing out the flash. It's the same flash that you see with Angular Universal. Is all I was going to point out.
I didn't really see a flash, but I mean, I have like 16 cores, so it's probably why.
Yeah, I have 16 core too, and it's still flashed on mine. All that means is what's happening is a fully rendered static page is downloading, right? And that's awesome. And then once that's downloaded and the user can see it, it then downloads the Angular code with the vendor bundle, the main bundle, the styles bundle. It downloads all your Angular stuff, and it bootstraps Angular on top of it. So Angular turns on and goes, "Hey, what's this already existing HTML?" So it kind of gets rid of it and then repaints it. So that's why you get a flash, and this is similar to the kind of flash that you can experience with
Universal.
With Universal. Sorry. All right. So let's do. Can we show off? We've showed a plugin. Should we add a config validator just so we can get rid of that error?
Yeah.
Okay. So go back to your Scully config, and the config validator. This may change, but for now, go up top because you're going to import config validator constant from the same place. Yeah. So it's called config validator. Yep. And you're going to say on line 15, you're going to say NGBS post plugin. So you're going to reference the function, and then you're going to do open square brace config validator. No. Not as a string. The config validator is like a constant, like a symbol.
Gotcha.
Okay? So you're going to say, hey, on that function, the config validator equals, and why don't you just say async and then anonymous function. And for now, we'll just have it be empty. Okay. So now we have a config validator. And if someone was going to pass you a config, your config validator would actually take the config and you could do some sort of airing around that and stuff.
So that would be this here.
Yeah, it's going to be that object that's after post : slug. You open an object. That's going to be that object right there. Yep.
So let me try something real quick and tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
So let's change this to be remote post plugin.
Okay.
And I'm going to change that here.
Okay.
And I want this URL to be a parameter.
Okay. Yeah, done.
Okay.
So you're going to say config dot
URL.
Yeah.
And then I should be able to get it off of here. So when I define this here,
say URL.
The URL is equal to this.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So now your plugin's a lot more reusable. Yeah. And we actually already have a JSON plugin that will do everything you've already written and more. But I just wanted to show everyone, hey, this is how easy it is to write a plugin.
No, that makes sense. I just wanted to explore the idea of passing configuration within here.
Type needs to change to remote posts. Oh yeah. Well, he kept that the same. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we could change those.
So Yvonne says, will I have to do my own config validator for every new plugin? Yeah, I mean, if you don't want the error, you're gonna have to do your own config validator. If you don't care about the config, you can just do that empty config validator like I did on line 16. You can just add this empty config validator.
So
hey, why don't you explain line 16?
Okay, is someone asking about it?
I'm asking.
Okay, so config validator is like a constant. Like just imagine some random string. Okay, so and it's actually a symbol. Well, it used to be a symbol. I think you changed it back to a string. And what it is, you're saying, hey, for my remote post plugin,
which is a function,
I'm going to set a property on the function, which is the config property, the config validator, and it's equal to some function that returns a promise. Okay.
And then Scully knows how to call it because it's defined.
How does Scully call it? Can we see that, or can you just pseudo type that out?
It's actually it does a lot of stuff every time it runs this.
So essentially, it's like saying, "All right, I have a function foo that does something," and then I come in here and I can say foo dot or foo sub meh.
Yeah, is equal to another function
console dot log of something.
Yeah.
And then if somebody wants to, they could say foo meh.
Foo dot meh or foo sub meh. Yeah, either way.
Yeah, and call that, and that would just run the console log function.
Yeah. So that's what that's doing.
I mean, that's because the function is an object underneath the hood, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everything extends the object prototype.
Doesn't that feel a little weird?
Yeah, when we started talking about it, I said this isn't concrete. This is just how it is for now. We wanted to tie the two together, so we tied it this way. It doesn't need to stay that way.
Could it be an option that gets added into the register plugin function?
Totally could be an option. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of people, myself included, wouldn't like in looking at that would be confused kind of off the bat of like, what am I doing here? How am I setting this config validator up? Oh, I'm property on the like it doesn't register right off the bat, right?
Property on a function. Yeah. I've done this kind of stuff inside libraries, but I hadn't really thought about that. It's probably going to confuse people. That's really good feedback.
And I think about it in terms of like, if I'm reading the docs right off the bat, cool. Or if I have you here on the stream, cool. Like perfect. I can follow it. But if I come back to this like 3 months from now and I have to write another one and I don't have the docs in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll recall that's how I do it. Right.
Yeah. It'd be confusing. It'd be frustrating. And that's what we're trying to not do is create frustration.
But I love the fact that you can do that, right? In JavaScript, and you have that power to do that, right? It's a slick solution to that, right?
Yeah.
From an API standpoint.
You're also going to have people who will want to write their Scully config in TypeScript and transpile it, and the TypeScript probably isn't going to like this. It's going to say, no, this thing's a function. You can't add a property onto it.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Well, if you put I wonder if they'll do that. You would think that if you did the brackets, it would probably be okay with that, right?
Yvonne, you're welcome. Thanks for breaking that down.
Hey, Mike, that's not how you say you're welcome. Come on. Let's sing it. You need to sing it.
So Rob just asked a really good question. He wants to know, hey, if my app has 1,000 routes and that's going to take an hour to build, but I only want to build one route, can I just build one route? So he's asking about like when I run this, can I add a filter?
Regenerate all of my previous blog posts.
Yeah. Just do my blogs, don't do everything else, right? Or just do my product pages, don't do all my other content pages, right? Something like that. And if that's the case, so that's like one of the next features that we're building right now is when you run this, you can add an extra filter, right? And it can be a filter function or it can be something like that. So just do the blog post I edited. I mean,
if you have a blog, if you potentially have,
a
plugin that would filter based off of last edit date or something.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do what Rob is saying, where it can be super specific. For right now, no, Rob, don't be sorry. This is great. I want to be able to push into it and say, hey, build just these ones, right? And that's where one day Hero Devs is going to have a SaaS offering on top of Scully, where we offer to allow people to push new build config down to us, and we'll just regenerate your site. So it's a great question. So the push thing is super important to be able to say, hey, only build these sites. It doesn't exist right now, but just know it's like so right in the middle of our target that's definitely what we're building next. But it's a great question.
What if you did something off the Git SHA, or was that too like specific?
I mean, if I could think I could give you a regex and you're like, hey, just match this. Or I could give you a function that you imagine if I put a config function or a filter function inside your config here, and that config function's like, go to Git, find anything that's new that has changed, and then just you figure out how to write your own filtering function for just that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Rob says, could I parameterize the config? I don't understand that question, but I don't understand why you couldn't. I love that Rob's on here, by the way.
JavaScript file that gets executed, so you could.
I feel like we all got like 10 times more sober once Rob got here. We're like, oh, for real?
Nah, not at all.
Can we get verification that that's the real Rob?
That's true.
Is that the Twitch Rob or the real Rob? Let's see if he comments about two-wheel vehicles, then maybe we would know for sure.
He says not sober, so I think that's how he wants us to say, yeah, that must be him.
All right, export config, function config, return project root routes.
Yeah, so it doesn't support what you're saying, but it wouldn't be hard to support what you're saying. Yeah, definitely. You could do that. I mean, it's once you're in a JavaScript file, though, it ends up being a lot like Webpack. So we can let you point it to another config file, or like a lot of people do with their Webpack, they just pass like command line parameters, and then they generate their Webpack config kind of randomly on the fly. So yeah. What is that thing?
Two things, right? There would be the fact that you change that file, the post or two posts or whatever. But there's also the fact that, like, what is your artifact, your build artifact, right? Like, have you already built it? Because maybe I just pulled down the repo and then I changed a post. So I never actually like rebuilt all the pages.
Yeah. I mean, so Rob's talking about generating specific routes. Mike or Justin, you just switched back to just like the discovering of routes process, right?
Well, like if I edited just one post and I have 100 posts and I just want to rebuild the one post, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You still also would need some check to see, like, did I build the other 99? Because maybe in my environment I haven't built the other 99, so I do have to build all 100, right?
Yeah. So Rob's asking a lot of good questions. The last one is, how does he write the output of this build back into Firebase? For now, I'm just going to say through traditional CI/CD, whatever your CI/CD is, but I suppose we could have a post build function, but yeah. So I think, you guys are kind of all asking the same question. How do I filter to only build a few things rather than everything, right? And right now we don't have that. Right now you have to build everything. And so like I said, that's one of our number one functions is add 4 or 5 ways to limit the scope of the Scully build so that it only generates a certain number of routes. So yeah. The danger around generating a certain number of routes is if you build Angular 2 times and you didn't change the Angular at all, then the hashes around the generated files are the same, right? So the problem is if you built the whole app, 10 minutes ago, and then you just want to generate a few new routes now, 10 minutes later, as long as your Angular hasn't changed, you're going to be fine. But the second that you build the new route, if the Angular has changed, all the names of your JavaScript files are going to change as well. So the second you try and deploy just those new pieces, you're going to have 2 versions of like the app.main.js and like the vendor bundle, because they're all going to have different hashes if you change the JavaScript scope. Anytime you change the JavaScript, you're going to have to redeploy the whole entire website. You could only deploy parts of the website if you only changed the content of the website. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so as long as you understand, hey, I didn't change Angular, I only changed the content. I only changed where this stuff is getting sourced from. Okay, then you can just build some of the routes. Other than that, if you change Angular, you have to build the whole site again. So yeah.
What if you have a lazy loaded module and you only can you rebuild just that lazy loaded module JS?
I mean, not really, because the name of the lazy loaded module JS is in the app.main, right? So even though you're only doing that one, if you change the JavaScript, you're going to have to redeploy the whole site. Because imagine like that lazy loaded module accounts for 1% of the site, right? So 99% of the site is going to have links. 99% of those HTML files for all the other routes are going to point to an old file that you're now overriding just to build the one route. So if you change the JavaScript at all, if you change any of your TypeScript files for Angular, you just have to rebuild the app. It's kind of a pure type function. So yeah. But in questions of content sourcing, totally different. Content sourcing, I just changed this one thing, this one .md file, boom. Or I just updated, I went to Contentful and changed the title or whatever. I marked this from not published to published. Cool. Then just generate those few routes. And we're going to add the tooling around that stuff. It's not there today. Like, we're still in alpha because we're more excited than anyone, trust me. If you couldn't already tell, like, it's like a Golden Globes acceptance speech. I know no one cares about this as much as I do. I'm so excited about it, but that also means it's a little rough around the edges, and we're still adding features and hashing out kind of what makes sense. So yeah.
Hey, Frosty.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to where we were.
Okay, sorry.
Before that amazing detour that we just went on.
Yeah.
Can we actually fill in and add some content to this validator?
Yeah.
People can see what the structure of it is, what kind of parameters I can expect to have available to me, and what I could and should do within there.
Yeah. So why don't, just to kind of peel this back how I would if I was developing this, why don't you add a parameter to our config?
I think I did.
Okay, so hold on. Let me call it here.
URL.
So let's call this thing right here args, right?
Yeah, you drive.
So I'm going to just add some args into this thing, right? And I'm just going to, for right now, we'll just say console.log the args, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now let's go ahead and run the build. Can you run the build? I don't think I can run it from my computer.
No, hold on. I'm serving this thing, so I need the npm run Scully.
Okay, so there's your config, right? So it gives you Okay, so that's our config object is an array of this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we got. So we would have to take that and why don't you return false from this async function? Just for me.
You drive.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I forgot. I can drive too. So for now, let's run return false, and then let's have you run this. I think by returning false is how we get it to fail. Come again?
UV. Let's run that again.
Yeah. What? How does return false fail? So fabulously like that. Do it again? That makes no sense to me. Okay. Did anyone change anything else? Yeah, I didn't see anyone change anything, but none of this makes any sense. Oh, yeah. Go back up. You're in static. Sorry. Got to go back to the root. That was weird. Yeah, that was weird. We were freaking out for a second. All right. So I'm going to return false again. Okay. Let's run this guy. You dumb broke it. Okay, so we returned false. That didn't make it fail. All right. I got to go read Scully's source. Give me a second. I don't know how to make these things fail. Sorry. All right. Sorry, everybody.
It doesn't need to be a promise because it's async. So that
it's already a promise. Whatever return is promisified already.
Yep.
Config validator. Where do you get executed from?
I don't want it to keep rendering all these.
Okay, here we go. If plugin errors. So maybe let's return. Okay, sorry. So let me go back to this config. Let's do this. Let's return an array of this no good. Okay, now run it.
Our Hutchinson asked we need to throw.
There we go. No, we just have to return something. All right. So there you go. Now this is the kind of error you're going to get if as long as you return an array of errors, then you're good to go. So we could return multiple errors there as well, right? So anyway, at this point, you're now just taking the args, which is an array of the config objects, checking them out, making sure that the ish you need is in there, and if ish is bad, then ish the bed, right? Like it's good. So
yeah.
So yeah.
So we're looking at
is R. Hutchinson sarcastic?
No, I think he was asking if we needed to throw.
No. He says that.
Oh, that's into it. Yeah, no, I think that it's like maybe it's a little rough. The API is a little rough, right? To return an array. Like, how do you know to return an array?
Well, like if you think about like reactive forms, if you return objects that's bad on validators, you want to return like nothing from the.
That's a little confusing too.
I'm just saying.
I agree. No, I agree.
Confusing is as confusing does. I don't know. So yeah, I don't disagree with you that that's also confusing though. But yeah, no.
Confusing is consistent though.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's nice that as a plugin author, I can I'm just gonna return this array of errors, and it's it's gonna be good, and everyone can know that life's happy. I can basically educate them with a series of strings to do this the right way, right?
Yeah, to tell you what to do.
Because ultimately, if you think about it, like if this NGBS remote plugin was going to go big and we were going to go prime time, and hopefully we get a million, we're at 1 million downloads a week on NPM, you're going to want to be able to coach people through common use cases of your thing, right?
That sounds like a lot of issues to have to curate for an open source library. So I don't know if we want 1 million downloads of this plugin.
I think you do.
Maybe the trade-off's worth
anything that Brocky and Shorty do. I expect nothing less than 1 million downloads a month.
All right. I'm just putting this in here so that people can see what's going on if we commit this code.
Yeah. So we're building again. Can we show off transfer state? We've got 10 minutes. So this is the part that
we don't have
we have unlimited time. Is what you're saying? We have unlimited time. Okay. Let me show off transfer state, because transfer state is where this starts to get really cool.
All right, hold on.
Because I want you to imagine
you take us on a tour.
Okay. I want you, before we do this, I need to explain something. So I want you to imagine that you use Firebase as your CMS. Okay. So imagine this JSON placeholder thing where we have data. Imagine for every 1,000 requests, we're going to get charged $1. Okay. So, and we're cheap, right? We're students. We want to build something successful, but we don't want to, I just implied all students are cheap. My bad. That's generally true. Anyway, so we don't want to deploy to production and have every route that people go to, every time they come to our site, it's going to charge us. It's going to count. So if we get successful, all of a sudden it's like, man, it's costing me $50 a day just to host, just to hit my endpoints. That would suck, right? So we have this idea of what if you could, and this is where Gatsby, this is where all Jamstack shines, including Scully. Okay. What if I could only hit my CMS during the Scully build time, and then the content was there and I didn't have to do anything else to get it? Think about that. Would that be awesome?
Yeah.
That would be cool, right?
you have to, if you change your content, you have to then rebuild Scully, right? You have to link those two.
Yeah.
Unless you want to throw money away.
What's that?
Unless you want to throw money away to Firebase.
Unless you got the money to burn, right? So anyway, so let's hook it up so that the posts API, if we're in the Scully generation time, it gets the data. So Scully's running. If we're at that time, it gets the data from the API and saves it into the HTML. But then if we're running on the client's machine, it pulls it out of the HTML where Scully put it. That way, in production, we don't actually have to hit the API. We just pull it out of the place where we got it at build time. Does that make sense?
So almost like a Scully cache.
Well, it's called transfer state. This is an Angular universal concept.
Mm-hmm.
You take some data from the database on the server in your node server in Angular Universal. You put it into the HTML, and then that gets sent down to the client as a big HTML page. And then once it gets down there, you pull the state out of the HTML and you use it. So it's literally, if you've done any Angular Universal, you already understand transfer state. But what this does is it also, I talked about the flash, because the content is there and then Angular turns on and it removes it while it calls the API, and then it calls the API and goes, oh, I got the same data back. Cool. Let me put it back on the DOM. It can eliminate that flash as well, which is really, really powerful to say, hey, I saw it didn't even flash away. So let's go ahead and do this for the posts view. Okay. So open up, I'll kind of walk through it. So are you following me?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to open up posts.component. And so right now we have this post right here. This is how we get the posts, right?
Well, we did until you just deleted it.
Yeah. So I just deleted it. So I'm going to say API posts, and this is the post from the API. And now I'm going to say, hey, is Scully running? Did I import it from my place? No. Thanks, man. All right, let's go and get imported.
I got you.
Okay. Do it.
nglib? Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Okay. So if Scully is running, then I want you to be the this.api posts. Okay. Otherwise, and we're going to add in a new dependency here. We're going to say private transfer state service.
I'm going to put you on a new line real quick, just so you.
Okay. Cool. All right. So we have this transfer state service as well, right? So I'm going to say, so if Scully is not running, actually, we have to do one more thing in order for this to work. So we're going to take the post from the API and we're going to say tap. Sorry, I need you to get tap in here.
Gotcha.
Mike playing the role of auto import.
Thanks. Okay. So I'm going to say, if it's the API, take the API posts, and then once you get back, say this dot transfer state dot set state, and we're going to call this posts, and we're going to give it the posts. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to say this dot.
Do a little format in here.
Okay.
You're good. Keep going.
Okay. So now we've changed our state, and we said, hey, if Scully is running, then go ahead and talk to the API. But if we're in this generated version of Scully, actually, hold on, we're going to say if is Scully generated. We're going to use the other function. Because this way it will work in ng-serve. It will still call the API in API serve. So if not Scully generated, so meaning Scully's building right now or I'm doing ng-serve, then I want you to call the API and set it into the page state. Otherwise, I just want you to get it out of the page state. Okay, so that's what this means. Okay, and what this is going to allow us to do now, if we generate our page, when we load this posts route, it's not going to make a server call. Okay. So when this runs as Angular, it's going to get the data back like immediately because it's in the page. It didn't have to even do an asynchronous operation. It just did it synchronously because you and I both know that observables, if they can be run synchronously, will run synchronously, which is different than promises. So you won't get the same flash that you would have gotten before. So do you guys have any questions? You guys are both like staring at this code like, I got no sense.
All right, no. So just to be clear, our template is still working off of this variable, this observable.
Yep.
And instead of always making this call,
yep,
we're doing some logic to say, hey, is Scully generated? And if it's not, then we want to actually make the API call.
Yep.
But if not,
so if it is generated,
if it is generated, then get it from this place here, this state, transfer state that has already been established from when it was.
Yeah. So basically, if it's already been generating, meaning it already ran through Scully, then pull it out of the state, call get state on posts. That's all you're going to do. But if you haven't, then I want you to go to the API and get it. Meaning if I'm in ngserve or if I'm in Scully, call the API.
No, I follow that.
Okay.
So my follow-up question is, we're now setting this somewhere that the transfer state knows about. So my question is, when I run Scully against this and it runs this actual call, I'm assuming that this data that's right here is put somewhere that I should be able to see in the statically generated site?
Yeah, I'll show you. So let's go ahead and generate this. Let's go ahead and generate the site and we'll check it out.
We have to build this because we changed our Angular.
True. So Histaro says, how does Scully store the state for each page? So we do it the same way that Universal does it. So we add a script tag and we set the content. We JSON stringify whatever your state is, and we set it into the internal text content of this script tag. Okay. And then when we want to get it out, we pull it out of that script tag at runtime, which is a synchronous operation. So when it does that, when Angular is bootstrapping, you don't see the flash of data because it all happens in the same event site, like loop, for lack of a better term. Before the next paint, it'll have the data and repaint. So, okay. So npm run Scully. Can we see what?
They're talking about seeing the state.
Yeah, so let's look at the state and the output. So once this gets done generating, we'll go to the dist directory and we'll go to that posts index.html and we'll look at the state in there because it will be right there. And the other cool thing is right now we put it into a script tag straight on the index.html. In the future, we're going to put it right there, but we're also going to put in a sibling file called data.json with the data in there. And what that allows you to do is the first page that loads, it pulls it out of the index.html. But when you navigate from route A to route B in Angular, it either needs the API because it doesn't have a way to get the data because that data is up on the server, right? It's on the next page's index.html. But behind the scenes, it takes care of fetching that data.json for you and bringing it in. And so you'll always have that without you having to do anything. All you have to do is know get state and set state, and you're done. The Scully build takes care of the rest for you, which is pretty awesome.
So this already did the posts.
Yeah, so go ahead and kill it, and we'll just open up.
Did it do posts yet? No, it started with the numbered ones.
All right.
Oh, here it is.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to open that file rather than going through the file system here. Right.
I don't know. Command click, it says.
There we go.
Okay. So if you look in here and you do a little bit of scroll ski. Hello. There you go. See that Scully state start? See that Scully state start?
Wait, no. Yeah. This. Oh, right here.
Scully state start. So that is the beginning of the stringified JSON that we're just setting into the body of the HTML.
Posts.
Yeah. And then when we pull it out, we strip that beginning and ending comment off and just use the internal JSON stringified data.
So, I see. This is inside of a script tag. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a script tag.
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. I forgot. Sander did an enhancement to make it faster. Okay. So Sander, he just makes it a global. He calls it Scully transfer state. So what that does is I'm laughing with R. Hutchinson. Sorry. So that
I got to bring that up. So whenever you're done, let's bring that up.
Yeah. So window Scully transfer state. We just make this global, and then Scully pulls it in through that global. That's all that's happening there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So R. Hutchinson, I was thinking the exact same thing. It was great. He goes, ASP.NET view state is back. That's exactly the same thing. Right?
I mean, this is what other universal and isomorphic solutions do. There's not a way to get state from the server to the client unless it's in the HTML directly or inside of a JavaScript file, or you're going to do another request for like a JSON directory, which we don't want to do. We want to have it all in line. So yeah.
So to be clear,
in a lot of ways,
hold on, because this is important.
Yeah.
So to be clear, since we added this code here where we're setting state, anywhere that this component is being used, that state will be set.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could have name collisions. So if you see like a component that's going to call multiple times, you're going to need to figure out how to set a unique key. But yeah, that's exactly right what you just said.
Okay. That string right there, that's quote post, right? That's the
yes. Yep. So like to Mike's point, let's say we had 2 app posts on this page. They're both going to override the same set state key name. So you would need to get a way to say I'm component 1 and I'm component 2, and I'll set post 1 equal to this and post 2 equal to this. So yeah. You have to figure out a way to key it right.
Yeah.
But outside of keying it and figuring out how to cleverly key things, you're good to go. So
Code phobia is in the house. Hi,
Code phobia.
Hello.
So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there.
Question.
So I kind of want to do, if we could, because we've got it to where the one call we make to an API is set. If you want to, we could add this also to the posts component, because we only added it to the posts component. It's almost the exact same thing, though.
Why wouldn't it be the same exact thing aside from the URL?
It's not much different. It's only slightly different because we have to pull the ID out of the URL and then do the HTTP request. But it's the same type of thing where you define the API post.
Yeah. So here, we already do this here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we would just call this API posts, right? Yep. Or whatever. I mean, this naming convention, I made this up, right? So we would then say posts is equal to not is Scully generated. And if it's not, then we say this dot API posts dot pipe, where we do the tap, take the data, this dot transfer state dot set.
The Staro's out. Later, Staro. Thanks for joining us.
Mike's totally hooking me up. He's doing all my imports for me. Otherwise,
transfer state service.
Transfer
state. The Brockie extension for VS Code.
Yeah, I installed the Brockie extension.
It requires live share, but if you have it, then you can get autocomplete from Brockie itself.
Yeah.
Am I doing it from Scully at Scully/Scully or?
No, these things are from ng-lib, Scully ng-lib. Yeah.
Transfer state service.
So let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
We're talking about doing this transfer state to avoid this flash.
Okay.
Is the flash a result of the async call to the service that's happening, or is it actually timing?
So the flash, here's Mike, I already got the tab up above. Sorry, you don't have to do it. Okay. So imagine you go to my website and I ran my website through Scully or Gatsby or Angular Universal. It's the same thing, right? So when I come to the page, it gives me, instead of an Angular app that doesn't have anything inside the body, inside an Angular app, it just has an app-root, right? Like that's all the Angular apps have. The HTML is empty. But when you generate it, I get a fully generated HTML page. So instead of like a 1K or 2K HTML page, I'm going to get like a 50K HTML page, right? And that's going to have it's going to have the whole view in there. And then at the very bottom of that HTML page, though, is a bunch of script tags, same as an Angular app. All the script tags are still there. So then Angular starts to download. I'm sorry, Rob just hijacked my thought.
Focus.
I got to focus, Rob.
It'll still be in the chat, so you can still look at it here.
GD. So then Angular starts to download all the script tags, right? And once Angular's like, hello, I'm ready, it executes and it says, hey, Bootstrap. And it starts turning on app-root and it starts turning on all the nested components. Well, when it turns on app-root's like, man, I've got a ton of HTML inside of me that I need to throw away and put in my what I think needs to be inside of me, because I didn't create this HTML that's in me. Someone else did. So it gets rid of it. And if there's any asynchronous requests before it repaints its children, so like let's say they have to go to the server and get data. While they're gone, you're going to see a flash where the old HTML is gone, and then the data comes in, like the asynchronous request to the server comes in, and then it repaints the exact same data back. Okay, that's the flash that happens with Universal, and there's ways around it by using this transfer state.
So the reason I ask is it the async call that makes the repaint, right? Is because all the stuff that you just described is still happening with the transfer state, right? Angular is still setting that value, still resetting the DOM, but it's happening faster. Is it happening faster, or is it because it's avoiding the async? Because if I had an async call that happened instantaneously and the timing was no different than reading it from the transfer state, then theoretically, should you have no flash? Trying to figure out the problem.
If it was async, if you had even one frame where like if it was a promise, so there's one frame where legit it's not there, like the content was not there for one frame, you're gonna have a flash for that one frame. But if you're doing it all in the same like before there's been a repaint, you haven't given the control of the process back to the browser to do paints and stuff, then it's still gonna force a repaint, but it didn't have time to do the paint for the remove, so you kind of all see it all at the exact same time. So
it's a timing thing then, right?
Total timing thing, yeah.
So if when I fetch the data from set state, if there was some data calculation that had to happen before Angular rendered it, I potentially could still see the same flash.
If the data calculation had asynchronous stuff in it, then yes. But everything standard that I'm thinking about, you're saying about data calculation, would be synchronous on the same processor. It wouldn't relinquish control.
The asynchronous that's causing the flash.
Totally, 100%.
Part of the factoring here.
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't explain it.
That's right. No, I wanted to like dig, because I'm trying to sit like, is that, could we still potentially have problems? Could we still potentially have flash? Like, what is the fact that we're getting it from set state instead of from an HTTP call? And the main difference I see there is the fact that one's an async call. So, one's not, the other one's not. So is that why we see the flash, right?
There may potentially still be a flash, though. If you're on a lazy route and it needs to go out and get that JavaScript asynchronously, there's your asynchronous aspect of running in the same loop.
And for that scenario, Mike, that you just said, Universal, most things don't have a solution for that.
Yeah, I'm not looking to say, hey, this is a bad thing. It's just setting the appropriate expectation of thinking through things that may cause essentially what boils down to an additional run of change detection.
So
if someone gave me a Buffalo nickel, I could get rid of the paint. I could get rid of the flash, even if it was like a necessary lazy loaded route flash. So I may one day do an example of it, but it's going to be kind of wonky, to be honest.
okay, so just to be clear, on line 25 that we see right now, like line 24, right?
Mm-hmm.
If in that pipe, if we added a delay, would we not see a flash still?
It already. No. Oh, you mean in on line 27?
Yeah, it would be here.
Yes, sorry, line 27, right?
Yeah.
So if we had a
You added a debounce time.
yeah, if we had a pipe in there to simulate some time. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd still see it.
So it's a timing issue. It's not an async issue. Like that's what I'm trying to get to. Like if there's still a delay before Angular is going to do its render, like we're still subject. We could still get ourselves in a scenario where the transfer state is not totally solving our flash.
Well, the scenario where you're in a lazy loaded route, that's a scenario where you're definitely going to have a flash no matter what. But in the scenario where you're calling get state and you're not doing anything asynchronous from that, Rob's telling me to agree with you, but no, like you're not really. I mean, you could, I suppose, if you pull the state out from the page and then you do some other async thing, like you didn't do all the async things in Scully that you should have done. Like let's say you should have done all this other extra async stuff in Scully, but you didn't do it during Scully build time. You're doing it on the client. Then yeah, you might.
I think I have another example. If I have a table that's going to render 2,000 rows, Angular is going to render 2,000 rows, right, for me.
Okay.
Whether I get it from get state or whether I get it from HTTP client, I'm still going to be bottlenecked by the render of those rows, right? And Angular is redoing the stuff that's already on the display in the browser. So I'm still going to get a delay because it's happening twice. I've seen the content once, and then Angular's adding the content. So there's still a potential that I get some sort of flash or re-rendering of the content that I could visually see with the human eye as a result of that, right? See what I'm saying?
There could be, as long as it's all, I mean, if you take the DOM away and put it back before the next paint, you won't see anything. So as long as it's synchronous, then no. But if it's asynchronous, then yeah.
Right.
So even if you're using promises to do synchronous things like that, then yeah, promises are async by nature. So you might be giving control back to the browser and you might lose that kind of stuff. So yeah. Someone says yet. I don't understand yet, Hutchin.
Because Rob said that's because Angular doesn't support hydration.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, I don't think Angular could support hydration. But anyway, so at this point, so here's a really cool thing about Scully. At this point, we've got the posts. We've got the post coming out of. We're storing the post for each individual post into the page too, right?
Yes.
So if I go from one post to the next post, the transfer state for the next post is up on the server, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the state's still up on the server. Like I don't have that on the client. So how does transfer state get the next state for the next route? Like if let's say I had a link on my post 1 to post 2, like I had a next button. Mm-hmm. How do I go get that state off the server and get that? The cool thing is you don't have to worry about it. It does it for you.
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah.
Is this a potential name collision with the name post?
Why?
Oh, yeah.
Because each post is based off of the ID, and I know they're on different index HTML files.
So I want you to imagine I'm on route post/1, mm-hmm. right? And on that route, I say set state, and I use the key post, right? And now I've navigated to route post/2, right? Mm-hmm. And that one's also using the same exact key. Well, transfer state behind the scenes for you, transfer state on navigation is saying, hey, go get the state off of this next page that they're going to and put it into the state with the exact same keys as when it was built. And so then when you show up on that route, the get state goes, hello, and it pulls it out for you. And it's the exact same stuff that you thought it was going to be. So we take care of getting like navigation routing put in place for you. So Rob says, what happens if you don't load the JavaScript at all? So if you don't load the JavaScript at all, so let's say JavaScript's off, then you're not functioning like a SPA anymore. So any click that you make, any A tag that you hit is going to re-hit the server for another indexed HTML. Okay. So if I click on posts 1, I'm going to get post/1/index HTML. And let's say on that, I have a link to post 2. So I click on that and it's like, you're not in a SPA. So there's no sort of intercepting the location change that will force a full page load. So I get a full page load, which requests to the server post/2/index HTML. And then that loads. So you can run this whole site as long as you have like proper linking, like next and previous and like table of contents and footers and headers and stuff. You could run your app without JavaScript turned on. But yeah, it works. We have several samples where the full app works without JavaScript turned on. The problem is like if you ever add like search, like so anything that they could type like into an input, well, that's brutal at that point. You need JavaScript. There's no way to do searchy things. That's something that technically Universal could handle, even though it would look weird. Universal might be able to handle something like that, right? Like you could have a Universal page where I type into an input, hit enter. Somehow there's a form that gets sent to the server and then Universal goes, hello, I see what's in you, and then re-renders the page with like the stuff in the right place. So Universal would be able to handle actual functionality with JavaScript turned off and whatever. But to be totally honest, if you've ever built a Universal app, it's significantly harder than just writing Angular. Like one thing is to say, I know Angular. Another thing is to say, I've done Universal. Like it's a completely different mind think, and it's a lot more strict on what you can and can't do. And so it's a lot easier to write an Angular Scully app than it is to write an Angular Universal app. And so because with Angular Scully, it's just Angular. Angular Universal, it's this very specific, unique flavor of Angular.
I have a quick question. Well, an additional question follow up to that. So I understand that the post would then just get the value in state, or then transfer state for the variable post will get updated with the new property or with the new one as I go to the next post.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, are you doing any type of caching if I were to go from post 1 to 2 and back to 1 to save the value of what was in that in relationship to the currently navigated to route?
We're not.
Okay.
But we want to.
Okay.
Yeah. Good
and
question.
I'm assuming there would therefore be controls over that as well to basically say, keep the previous X number of values in transfer state.
Yeah. So we want to do that. We also want to support when you hover a link, we fetch it on hover. We don't wait till you actually click on it. But what if I went and got the data on hover? It would be that much faster, right? Your route change would be that much quicker. So we've already reduced the payload size. We're about to reduce the payload size by only fetching the next page's JSON, not fetching the next page's all of their HTML and then pulling the JSON out of the HTML. We're about to put it into its own data file, so we only fetch the data. We don't fetch the next route's HTML and then pull it out of there. So we're about to get that faster. But if you've ever built a Gatsby app, they actually have, if you want to make a link, an A tag, you have to use Gatsby link. And that's because they have that hover, fetch the state on hover functionality wrapped behind Gatsby link. We're going to make it so you don't actually have to write Scully link. You can just still write your same A tags with router links, and we'll take care of, hello, let's fetch, see if it's there. If it's not, throw away. But and we'll avoid collisions by keying it based off of the URL. So yeah. Anyway, it'll be cool. It's just features that we'll have by the time we're done with beta, but we're not even in beta yet. So yeah.
So if I'm on this post
Mm-hmm.
and Angular's taken over, and now I'm in a SPA experience.
Yeah.
Am I in a SPA experience at that point?
Yeah. It's just Angular at that point. Yeah.
And so then if I navigate to a different post, it's Angular routing to that post. Is that correct?
Yeah. This same controller will run again.
So then how does it know what post key to get the state from when it goes to the next one? Or is that out of the
out of the box, it just takes care of it for you. So imagine, if you can, that behind the scenes there's this listener that listens to route change events.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it says on navigation start, take the URL that I'm going to and go to the server and get its state from the server. And then put that into the state.
All behind the scenes.
It's transparent. It's abstracted from you. You don't have to implement that. It takes care of it for you. The transfer state service does that for you. And
so, okay. But it is hitting the server at that point when I change routes.
True. Yeah. On navigation start. Yeah. But it's not hitting the API. It's hitting the static file. It's requesting a static file that got created by Scully, not the API that was hit.
But wherever that's at, right? So like if I'm in a case of a PWA and I'm offline, does that fall apart?
If we're going to bring in PWA, then yeah, you got to add service workers for a ton of things, not just the route data. Like the route data is one of the many things you're going to have to start accounting for with a service worker, but you totally can. Like we all know that Angular supports this stuff. Super, super awesome. So
like in PWA, I could cache that JSON placeholder, the post data, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, if I'm on a PWA, do I have the ability to cache the transfer state in the same fashion, or is that something we could get to with Scully?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer state is really so imagine if we just say, hey, cache posts /2/data.json, because that's where it's going to end up, or post/2/index.html, because it's currently in the index.html. We just request the next page's index.html. We pull the JSON out of it and put that into the state. But imagine you could easily write a service worker that's like, hey, just cache all this stuff. So if I ever saw it once and I go offline, it's still there. You have all these new nuances of service worker cache problems, though, that you have to invalidate it on proper timing and stuff, which isn't hard to do necessarily. But yeah, you're taking on all that as well. But you can totally do it. There's nothing about Scully that's any different from any page you've ever worked on. So anything that works with everything else works with Scully as well. That's the thing. So I'm borrowing this from Igor. It's just Angular. And that's the cool thing about this is it is just Angular. It's not Angular Universal or Angular Scully, right? And with Gatsby, it's not just React. Gatsby's Gatsby. Like you're writing a Gatsby version of React. You're not just writing React. It's very distinct flavor. But with Scully, it's just Angular. It's not anything else. So, so yeah.
And Rob mentioned the same distinction between caching, fetching content versus app code, which is essentially, you boil it down, it's the same thing. Like even if we're requesting transfer state from URL, we're requesting data from the JSON placeholder URL, it's still making the request, and we can do the same. You extract away the set state logic, and it's under the hood, it's the same thing.
It's just Angular, right?
Yep.
Whatever you were going to have in Angular anyway, this is the same problem, and you solve it the same exact ways. Yep. So yeah, the good thing is we'll hopefully be able to add some of this PWA with the data caching for you, so you can say, hey, I don't currently have a PWA, and I also don't have a statically generated site, but with Scully I get both. It takes care of statically generating and PWA with caching, with hover state data fetching, and all this other cool stuff, right? So yeah, like that's the goal by the time we go 1.0 is to have that stuff in there.
The hover state data fetching thing is a little bit curious for me in that you may not want that on.
True. Totally. I mean, imagine if that was just a config in your Scully in your thing though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you would definitely need a way to opt out of that for people who are doing a lot of mobile stuff that is worldwide, that where people may not have a great service, that they don't necessarily want to do a lot of prefetching, making additional HTTP calls just because trying to make additional experiences faster may make the current experience slower.
Yeah, I mean, it's every app's gonna be different. So I can say I would do it this way, but just the same as the Angular team could prescribe stuff, but they make their money off of giving people options to do it their way, right? Because every app, well, we all use Angular, we're all different. This would be the same type of thing where it's like, I need to support both scenarios. Because some people are gonna like, yeah, do the route, the link hover data fetching ish, but other people are like, don't do that because it's too expensive. It's too much data on the next route. We don't want to pay for that on hover, So yeah. Or I may want to turn it off per route. Like, because some routes are going to have tons of data and where others might not matter. So yeah, we're going to have all those options in.
See Rob's question.
Do you feel like it'd be a bad thing if there was a Scully data service thingy? We already have the transfer state service that does this all magically for you. So I don't know how that Scully data service thingy would be any different, but I don't really understand what you mean by Scully data service thingy, because to me it sounds like you're saying the transfer state service that already exists. So I would say no. I feel like it's a loaded question. Like Rob maybe thinks it's a bad thing, but if that's the case, then I don't know. We should have just freaking added Rob on here like an hour ago, huh?
He's more than welcome. We'd love to have him. Compared it to Gatsby, that's all.
Yeah. I compare it to Gatsby a lot because that's kind of the that's kind of the thing that that most people are familiar with.
Up a little bit, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Just don't stand up.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
So I showed off one of the two types of plugins. There's another type of plugin called a post renderer plugin. And have you guys ever built a Webpack plugin?
A long.
So a Webpack plugin, essentially, in that function, you get, like, let's say you're writing an HTML plugin for Webpack. It will give you source HTML, and then you get to do something to it, and then you get to return whatever your new version is, right? And so with Scully, we let you have these post renderer plugins, so you can we'll give you the fully generated HTML, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can throw it through JS DOM and do jQuery, add things to the head and stuff like that, which people are doing. And you can modify the post rendered content after the fact. So let's say you're hey, I want to post render that makes sure that all the metadata is good for my social networking graph links, so that when you paste the URL, it's got all the title and the description and the image and stuff, right? So if you wanted to do that, you would do that in a post render. And so yeah, the post renders are actually kind of interesting because on any route, you can only have one route plugin that takes the slug and turns it into a list of IDs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can actually have multiple post renders. So you could have one post render that minifies your HTML, and then another one that adds in the Facebook graph tags, right? And so you could have an array of post renders where you only have one route plugin. So those two different types of plugins kind of vary widely. But
we set one up.
Yeah, we could set one up. We could set one up that replaces triple hyphens or whatever with smiley faces. Yeah, we could totally set one up. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do it. So let's kind of do it. Let's kind of follow the same type of thing that we're doing here. So let's make a function called smiley renderer function. or whatever you want. Or renderer plugin. Sorry, not function renderer plugin. And then this thing is just going to get HTML. Okay. So this first thing is going to be a string of HTML. And we just need to return a promise with something else, right? So you can say promise.resolve HTML dot replace. I'm trying to remember. Can you do a replace? Is that a thing? Like, am I stupid?
No, you're good.
Dot replace HTML dot replace. You can search for that, yeah, and then
I forget the thing. Whatever.
okay, yeah, /G. I think you want to do a G on there.
Yeah, good call.
And then you can just put whatever else you want in there. Yeah, done. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we return that. So now you're gonna want to say you're gonna need to register it. So say register plugin after online 31 or wherever you want to call register plugin.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just testing my regex.
Very good. Yeah, it's called a renderer. And then you can call it whatever you want. Smiley plugin or, doesn't really matter to me. Rob's pants. Yep. Okay. And now so go ahead. Now we have to configure something to use this thing. So let's go ahead and go down to expand your routes so we can get in there.
Okay, I figured it was going to be registered outside of the routes.
Nope, it's in the route because maybe we only want to use it for certain routes. So on our post/slug, so let's just add it to the post slug for now.
Okay.
Add a new property called post renderers, and it's an array. And a lot like Webpack renderers, you added too many ers. Wait, hold on.
No, that was a
renderers.
Oh, you did, yeah. Post renderers. Yeah, no, you're good. My bad. So yeah, you're just gonna put Rob Pants in there. So Webpack allows you kind of the same type of thing to chain plugins like this.
Mm-hmm.
Webpack does it right to left, but we're not as, I don't know. We're doing left to right. Let me just say that. I don't want to criticize anyone. We're going left to right. So if you put 3 or 4 of them in there, they would go left to right. So like, let's say at an HTML minifier, you would want that one to be the last one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I want to do something else. I don't want to do triple dash. Well, here. I don't want to do it here because I can't control that content.
What is it?
I want to put it on the blog because I can control that content.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
So I'm putting on these routes, yeah. This way I can go to my markdown file. And then in here, I can put my triple slash.
Oh.
Right?
I'm guessing this is going to fail because everyone on the live stream is chatting that this is going to fail. So let's try it. I don't care. Let's try
I think it's going to fail because his pants are undefined. Are they null or undefined, right?
Yeah.
I guess you never created them, then they are undefined.
Did we change any? Let's have to scroll up. Can I read property Rob's pants of undefined? Hold on, let me see this.
I'm registering the plugin. It's a renderer plugin.
Maybe change it from renderer to render. Yeah.
Let's do this. That's great.
That's definitely what you wanted, huh? That's even better. No, you're in a type definition file. Yeah, render. There you go. Okay, good call. Okay, so now run the command.
These big nav operator on
nullish. What is that called? Nullish coalescing.
I guess it depends on if you're in TypeScript or if you're in Angular template syntax, right?
That's true. Yeah, I think they're trying to nullishly coalesce Rob's pants, though. Sounds like.
Now, what's really going to bake your noodle was Rob being funny with his comment about undefined, and it just happened to be undefined, or did he actually know that like the code was going to result in undefined?
I have no idea.
Okay, so render the blog one so we can take a look at those.
Never know.
Right?
Our Hutchinson wants to ask, can we fix the router link showing undefined for content folder generated routes? Got another issue, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
There's my smileys.
I'm wondering if the markdown removed the triple dashes. Maybe we got to do something besides triple dash. Maybe replace the word smiley. Maybe replace smileys. Do a search for the word smileys.
Let's just do smiley.
Yeah.
And save that. Rechange the config.
I think marker. We're using marker for the markdown conversion. I think that's what's removing the triple dashes because that is markdown.
All right. Replacing of a string will only do one instance, but that's okay.
Okay. Good.
You don't want to do live regex anymore? Come on, you got this.
Smiley -G. That will /smiley/G will work.
I'm good.
All right.
There's only one anyway.
Yeah. Works on my machine. All right.
This tells me if my file's deleted. Now it's recreated.
Okay. So they're created.
There you
go. Got some smiley face. So you can do a series of those post renders, right? Like you can chain them up. So it's like, hey, do this one. And we've started using JS DOM, which is like a node thing where you can get DOM-like capability. So you feed it that HTML string that you got, and then you can start doing DOM-y-like things like append child and other types of ish that make working with strings hard, but DOM easy. And so that's one thing that we thought would be cool is to allow people to have these post renders and do all sorts of post rendered HTML junk to make sure that their pages look right and stuff. So does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's those are the two plugins. You guys have now seen the two different plugins.
Let me see this. So with this HTML, am I processing against the entire file or just what's in between the Scully begin and end?
No, whole thing.
Whole thing.
So Scully begin and end, that's just for the blog. Okay.
Okay.
The blog component has this component called Scully content. And those comments were in the Scully component, and the Scully content gets replaced with whatever the content folder renderer plugin. So here's the weird thing about the content folder. The content folder has a router plugin and a render plugin. The router plugin gets all the file names to resolve the slugs for the routes, right? And then the render plugin says, all right, take this, now go get that file, do the markdown, and replace the content of that file with the rendered content from the markdown. So like the content folder plugin is actually both a router, and a plugin. Or to say it a different way, it's two different plugins. One router version that gets the slugs, and the other version that actually renders it, takes it, replaces the markdown with markup, and then passes it back on to Scully. So yeah, that's kind of the magic behind supporting blogs out of the box is we just have two plugins to do that rather than one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is that. And then, so the other day, someone used an HTML minifier, and they were able to able to pass HTML minifiers to all their stuff, and that was cool. Angular doesn't have HTML minifying built in, just because an Angular app has a very small indexed HTML that doesn't really need to be minified, so it doesn't happen too often. So rendered plugin, so I can write back to Firebase hosting when all the Firebase plugins are done. I don't understand what rendered.
Like rendered is complete, like all the rendering is done. Get notification when all the rendering is done, so you tap into that.
I mean, I suppose that'd be cool, but the rendered plugin, I mean, that wouldn't make sense to write to Firebase hosting one indexed HTML at a time, in my opinion. You really need to take the fully statically generated thing, the dist/static folder, and you need to push that out to hosting, not one folder at a time, right? Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. I feel right. It feels right. If loving's right, then I don't want to be. If loving's wrong, then I don't want to be right. If Firebase had that, then I suppose, yeah, we could add that. The rendered plugin wouldn't be any harder. So yeah, but Rob asking for another plugin. This is why we're in alpha, because Gatsby has this concept of lifecycle hooks, right? Which Angular developers also understand, right? Any component, any web developer understands lifecycle hooks. Well, there's also different life cycles of the build, right? Like the router step versus the post render step versus what Rob's asking for is the rendered step, right? And so we want to get this out of alpha into beta so we can start getting more feature requests like what Rob's saying. So we can say, hey, what are the other life cycles we need to support? So yeah. So Rob, my idea of what you're asking for is there's an ng deploy at the end of this that deploys it all back out to Firebase hosting. So yeah. This makes what you're asking for makes more sense as a deploy script. So anyway, yeah. Word.
Rob
Wordwald.
Word.
So we went.
Word is the word.
We've almost been at this for 3 hours, dogs.
2.5 hours. 2 hours, 31 minutes, 31 seconds.
Oh yeah, okay.
We are close to the 3 hour mark.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I've tried to explain the 3 new features. Well, the 3 biggest new features we have since the last week and a half, which were really kind of hardening the plugin APIs for both of them. Last week when we talked, the pose renders wasn't an array. You could only have one, but now you can have an array of them. So that's a new feature. And then the transfer state's also largely new. And then the last new feature is this now works in Angular 8, which as of a week ago, it only worked in 9. So now it works in both. So that's another cool feature.
So in exploring the types here, came across this. There's a third type of plugin.
It's a file handler, right?
Yeah.
So the file handler plugin works in conjunction with a render plugin. You probably won't use too many file handler plugins. You're probably not going to see too many of those.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
My one last question is there any way to get any additional information inside of the render plugin, or is it just going to be the HTML file? Can I get the route associated with that by chance?
I think you get that as the second parameter. So if you want to go ahead and get it, add your second param, and then you can log that. I think you can get that out of there. In fact, it's in the docs. Scully.io. Let me go look at the plugins. Working with plugins, render plugins. Yeah, you get the route out of the render plugin. Yep.
Are your docs built in Scully?
No, they're GitHub markdowns right now. We're just trying to make sure we harden it before we kind of build an app around it. But they will be. I mean, once we get to beta, we'll start building up the Angular app that will then render the whole thing as a static site.
Nice.
So
Where's my smiley? Oh, it's an object.
what is it? Oh, the route?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's probably the handled route. Let me go back to let me see this. Let me click on rendered plugin. Yeah, I'm guessing maybe it's a rendered plugin.
I have a tooltip over the blog post that tells me that right now it's deleted, that you can't see in the stream. That's why my mouse is over the index file here. But now it's been created. So let's take that.
So yeah, it's your route config is what it is, it looks like.
Yeah. So let's do this. We'll paste it. We'll make it a markdown. Oh, sorry.
JSON.
I'll type. It's mode, sorry.
Click on the bottom right. Click on the plain text.
I know, JSON.
Can you save and get prettier to format? There we go.
Okay. So we have some information here that we can do stuff with if we need, if we really wanted to.
That's a different shape than it used to be. I need to update the docs because that's not what it used to be. It's basically the route config plus the template file and the data file.
It's not the info that you used to know.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that's you can definitely get that other stuff that you're talking about.
Cool. And then since we have that information, we can do additional logic based off of here. So if we wanted to add something on here, we can.
Yeah, like you could add links to images, certain images that you have for that blog post, right? Or whatever. Yeah. So you can totally add all your graph stuff in there that you need. So,
I like it.
So yeah. It's good stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Lots of stuff.
It's exciting, man. It's exciting stuff.
Heck yeah.
It's nice to it's nice to have those post renders. There's a lot of stuff you could do, and I think there's a lot of stuff people will do.
I know we only touched on smileys. You could totally go with a wink.
Yeah.
You can go with like thumbs up. There's a lot of different emoji plugins you can.
My favorite is the sunglasses smiley.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Rob's like saying you could add prefetch tags, which you totally could, right? To all this stuff all the different ish that you need, right?
Very, very true.
So
you got the radio edit version of NGBS tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to be cool for the NGBS.
Appreciate that.
Anyways, so yeah, that's that. We kind of covered everything that I wanted to cover, and then I also got to drop in the plug that it works in Angular 8 now too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, it just says blog.id. Sad face. Sad panda. We still have blog ID in there? I don't know.
So one thing that we want to start supporting better is in your front data, what's it called? Front matter?
Front matter?
Yeah, in your front matter, if you add a URL, like a custom URL, like you don't want it to be the date-blog.md. You don't want that to be the URL. Maybe you just want it to be foo. So we want to make it so you can add a URL : foo or URL : whatever, and we'll use that as the URL instead. So not the file name is the URL, but the URL name.
URL.
So, yeah. So, anyways, that's that. Thanks for playing around with it, though, gents. A lot of really good questions. These are kind of questions that helped us get better, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome. A lot of good interaction tonight in the chats.
Do you guys feel like walking through this transfer state stuff kind of started to help to drive home the use of Jamstack versus traditional SPA? Or are you guys still kind of like, why did people care about Jamstack?
I'm still trying to like think about like, why do we have a name for it? Like, I feel like the concept and everything was there, or people may have been thinking. I mean, I see like you give it a name, maybe you can have some identity to it and things like that. But I almost feel like it's been on the mind of people in terms of the solution or the need for that, right?
Yeah,
type of thing. And so, yeah,
I agree.
I think what you talked about earlier, like talked about the universal and things, and like how Scully brings helping you do a lot of the stuff. So it's a little bit more straightforward for you to be able to adopt and bring this into the fold of your application. And I think that's like the big thing. That's like not so much to me. It's not so much like, oh, I need like something like Jamstack. It's how do I get there? And the power of Scully saying, we'll help you get there. Right.
Yeah.
We'll do the heavy lifting to help you get there. And I think that's the empowering, cool thing about it.
So here's the other really empowering, cool thing about it. Like this is the really, really, really cool, empowering thing about it. Let me explain that first. So I have a client who they have like an outrageous conversion rate for their website. It's insane. It's stupidly high. Like they're basically printing money. It's stupid. And they changed their buttons one time to blue. And then the lady who she previously worked for the company and then she left and then she came back as the CTO. She came back and she's like, why are the buttons blue? And they're like, well, because the designer changed them to blue. She's like, when I was here before, we changed them to orange and we saw like a massive bump in the conversion rate just by the button color. Change the button back to orange. So I have this client who they made like $500,000 that year just off of the tracked increase from changing the button back. And they immediately saw the increase and they tracked it across the year. They're like, dude, that button color. So I have this client who they're able to track their conversion like at a level I've never experienced as an engineer. And they know that their website on mobile still has an outrageous conversion rate, but it's half of the desktop. And so there's a certain point of where the desktop may always convert better than the mobile. There may be nothing we can do to make mobile convert as good as the desktop. But they also know that they're running an AngularJS hybrid. And so nothing shows up for not an insignificant amount of time on a mobile with 3G. And so they know if I can get this page to render, if I can render all my pages to 50 kilobyte files and all my users on mobile are able to see the app within 1 second because it's pre-rendered with just static HTML, they know that they're potentially going to start to capture some of that lost revenue that they lose between the desktop and the mobile side. Right. And so one of the biggest powers is just having your app, instead of being a meg or meg and a half, it's now back to just 50K. Like they get the mobile website in 50K and they can start scrolling and like getting ready to tap on the things that they want to tap on. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the real power is in the size of the website when you don't have to worry about loading all of Angular and its dependencies before you can show something. The real power is in that and how you affect positively the user experience of mobile devices.
Right.
So yeah, and that's the biggest thing. That's the thing that gets me the most excited is I know anyone who has a public facing website that has, PLPs and PDPs, they're going to make a ton of money off of rendering their site with Scully.
Same with content sharing, right? And social sharing of your content. And then say like, look, I've got this, because you also, that's a metric that you can track and get, identified. I'm having success when people share my site content on Twitter and Facebook and things like that. And it solves that as well.
Yeah, totally.
Control that and give that experience, rather than everybody shares, no matter what page the content is, everybody gets the same link shared, same description, right? Now you have specific of what piece of content they shared and the deep link and all that stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Which is powerful. There's no way to deny it. You can't deny how powerful that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's just a lot of money to be made around having a faster site that responds better to each specific page load. So, and that's what, and Universal's been doing this for a long time. So a lot of, people are like, dude, I get it. I've been doing Universal for years. This is why.
Right.
That's why. If you've been using Universal to solve this problem, then that means that you're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. You're killing it. I will just say, let's say your app is 2 years old. My client's app is like 7 years old. So let's say your app is multiple years old. It's anything besides brand new. And you're like, let's make this work with Universal. Good luck. You're screwed. Like, it's hard, right? Because every third-party library you use, every single line of code you've ever written, everything has to work inside of a node context, not a DOM context. And that's very difficult to go back and force into a pre-existing 2 or 6 year old app. If you're writing day one Universal, it's a lot simpler. You can start to make that happen a bit easier. But when you're trying to force an existing thing into Universal, it's very difficult. And Scully just doesn't care. Scully's like, nah, dude, I'm rendering this inside of a Puppeteer. If it works in a browser, it works in me. You don't have to write special Angular to make this be Angular. It's just Angular. So you get so many of the same values, and you actually get other values you don't get with Universal values, like you don't have to ship a node server to production or any of your other environments as well. So you get other values on top of that when you use Scully. So they both have wins and they both have costs, right? And if you weigh them out, you might be able to solve the same problem with either one. But some people might be in a scenario where no, I need Universal, or some people might be like, no, I need Scully. So it just kind of depends on where you're at.
What do you think the possibility is of getting this type of solution, Universal adopting this type of solution?
So in Angular 9, Universal released a pre-renderer. So now, using the Guest.js parser, which is what we use, right? I use the Guest.js parser. You can have some pre-rendering functionality as well to start pre-rendering your site, which is a really powerful feature for Angular Universal to have, right? One of the cool things, so I'm just gonna kind of throw this out there. So one feature I didn't show off tonight, I added it like a week ago, is extra routes. So those unhandled routes that just they're the Angular route with a parameter in the URL.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you're in an Angular hybrid app. An Angular hybrid app is never going to fit into Angular Universal because it has AngularJS, which will never run in a node context ever. And so Scully doesn't care. And so we made a way for you to provide extra routes. So if you have AngularJS routes, or if you have React routes, or if you have routes that aren't specified in your Angular router, any route that's not in the Angular router, but does exist in your SPA, you can account for that. And you can render those as well. So Scully renders Angular hybrids. It renders anything that's Angular plus React. Eventually, it will handle just AngularJS apps, and it will handle just React and Vue apps. So Scully is going to be a very powerful tool for a lot of different engineers. It's coming out the gate as the first Angular-focused static site generator, but eventually it'll be the JavaScript static site generator. Because here's the deal: React has the same with Gatsby, has the same kind of problem that Universal has. You have to write a very specific React app. You can't just any flavor of React you want works with Gatsby. That's not how Gatsby works. And so this just won't care, because Gatsby's also, and if you have third-party plugins that don't work that don't render in Node, that's also not going to work with Gatsby. So, but with Scully, it just doesn't care. That's the genius of using Puppeteer, is you get past the having to purify your dependency chain. to where everything can just run and if it runs on the browser, it runs. So yeah.
So I have 2 questions about Scully.
Okay.
First of all, the name Scully, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
So, can we guess? Can we guess?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a guess, Mike?
No, I got no idea.
All right.
But to me,
let me think of the Scullies that I know. Let's see. There's the Scully from Uncharted game series. There's what else do we have? Scully from that movie that Tom Hanks was in, right? The pilot one.
Sully.
Oh, that's Sully. Okay. Sully might be the one from Uncharted too. I might be thinking, might be adding a C there.
Pops in my head is pirates, and I don't know why I associate Scully to pirates. But
Scurvy.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
So Scully is the name of a hero. Her name's Dana Scully, and she's from a show called X-Files.
That's right. I saw that. I read that. Where was that? Like a tweet or something.
Yeah. So Scully, Scully generates a bunch of static files. And so X-Files and static files has a lot of kind of overlap. So we were like, hey, we want to have a solid name for this. We want it to be one name. We want it to be the name of a hero because Hero Devs is the name of the company. So let's go with Dana Scully. So when I was a kid growing up, we had a dog named Mulder. So Fox Mulder is like Dana Scully's partner. And so Mulder was our dog and he was the best. And anyway, so I was like, yeah, Sharon Diorio actually recommended one day, like, hey, what about these like power protagonist female names? I'm like, and she said Dana Scully. I was like, X-Files, Static Files, Scully. That's the name of our app is Scully. So
nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it kind of came from there. Collaboration with the community, but that's ultimately why it fit.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. My other question is, I'm sure many people know you put together this tiny little Angular conference thing in Utah. Yeah. For anybody who's attending, and I know I'm not asking you to give away any of the talks that were collected or anything else like that. Can we expect to see any Scully content at NGConf this year?
Yeah. So prior to Scully being born, we had asked Tara Manixic to give a Jamstack workshop at the conference. So it's a pre-conference workshop. So there will be a 1-day pre-conference workshop around Jamstack with Tara. And I mean, when she signed up to do this, Scully wasn't a thing. So I was interested to see what she was going to teach. But now I'm guessing she can teach a workshop around Scully. And I'm guessing it's going to pair nicely into Netlify, which is who she works for, who they created the term Jamstack, and they're some of the biggest proponents of it. So there's that. And then we'll have a talk called The Makings of Scully. And hopefully we can change the name of that. But this Jamstack stuff is going to take the Angular community by storm this year because it's never really been a thing. We've all watched React and Vue developers do this ish and we're all jealous, right? Anyway, it's gonna be big this year. It's gonna be a big deal, and so people are gonna want to see a lot about it, and there's gonna be a lot of conference presentations, meetup presentations around Scully this year, blog posts and such. So yeah, and then we'll have a 1-hour workshop on Faraday, the second day of the conference. We'll have a workshop around Scully as well. So yeah, Sanders going to give a 20-minute talk about it in front of everybody, and then I will give a 1-hour workshop on Faraday. So
thanks, R. Hutchinson, for finding that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Public knowledge is easy to share. Don't have to worry about your inside information there.
Yeah. Anyway.
So is Mulder in the future going to be the version of Scully that allows us to statically render Angular elements?
Can you explain what you mean by statically render an Angular element?
Well, it's just the same way you're rendering an Angular app statically, right? But now at an element level.
If I had to guess, so you know how React has Preact? Because they're like, React is trash. We can make it the same thing and smaller, right? Mulder may be some other community competitor edition that's like Scully's too slow. We can write the same thing fast. I don't know. Or it may be the first tool chain of like utility functions for plugin authors. Someone in the community writes and calls it Molder. I don't know.
Okay, so it might not be named Molder, but is that something maybe we can? It's an interesting thought, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
I could see it, because I think like out of the box, when people talk about Angular elements and they kind of have that conversation, I think a lot of the mindset is around like something small.
Yeah.
Right. But it could certainly be a composition of several Angular components to make up an experience, right? A chunk of page experience. I mean, almost just we go back to the AngularJS days. I mean, that's the part of the idea, right? Is that we have a chunk of JavaScript driven stuff going on rather than say a full page experience, right? And so in an Angular element, I may want to have the same performance of that content delivered right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I could see that as a future thing, right?
We could do that. We could definitely do that. It would be, it would take a little bit of thinking, and we'd probably have to render a whole page. So here's what we'd probably have to do. Put an Angular element on the page, render the whole page, have a post render that removes everything outside. So you just have anything inside the body, everything else gets removed. But then you have to figure out how to get the styles back in, because it probably depends on some styles or whatever. So, but as long as you did that, maybe you could get the same thing for Angular elements. Yeah. You could use Scully for this. I bet with the existing tool chain, you'd have to write some of your own custom plugins, but you might be able to get it to work. Yeah.
Coach Hogan's asking if Scully could ever take a static site and convert it to Angular.
No, if we get that, if someone wants to pull request that, I'll share the money with you. Right?
That's a private repo.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously. Yeah, Scully. Yeah, I'll make some outlandish claims. Scully can render AngularJS sites to Angular. It's fantastic.
No upgrade. You don't even need to upgrade.
No, just you do Scully and it's Angular. It's fantastic.
In which case, it just prints money.
Yeah, it's a money printer. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't have anything else, and I wanted to say that I appreciate you coming on and sharing this. It's been
it's been fun. Thank you.
No, thanks to you guys for letting me hijack your platform for a night or 2 nights now, and validate some ideas with people who I have so much trust in, like you two, and obviously get a chance to have Rob come in here and comment, and Hutchinson and Yvonne and get some really good feedback and questions. So I appreciate it.
Super fun.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because we've got this time, during the stream where we can really start talking about concepts and kind of dig into just, have this discussion, and that's always, for me, it's very exciting to be able to, brainstorm and just have that higher level kind of thought process of throwing things out and thinking about things and having the platform to be able to do that, and then sharing that with people that are in the chat with us.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Till next time.
We'll use the whole session to fix the blog ID next time. I don't even know what they're talking about.
Something doesn't work. I don't know.
All right. Hutchinson's like hyper focused on it.
Damn you, ID.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything that anybody wants to plug or anything before we unplug?
Nah, just buy your tickets to NGConf. It's the first conference where Ivy's the thing, so you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a big deal. I saw all the talks. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Plus, Mike and I have a workshop on Fair Day.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You guys are teaching about, say it again?
Schematics.
Schematic Night Fever.
Schematics.
Yeah. Schematics.
Really fun.
Night Fever? Yeah.
Schematic Night Fever, yeah.
That's right. And you and Frosty also have a workshop.
Oh, yeah? I mean, you have one pre-conference workshop.
Yeah.
Pre-conference. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sick.
Exciting.
All right, everyone.
In Utah.
We out.
XO.
Thanks. Laters.
Enjoy.
That was cool.